Hello everyone and welcome to episode 68 of the James Layton Fitness Podcast. Now before we dive into today's episode, I just want to briefly discuss what I've been doing on YouTube recently, and that is basically doing a lot more training style vlog videos, which I think would be really beneficial to everyone that listens to my podcast. Now the reason why I think this is useful is because even though me teaching information via my podcast and other videos is useful, I think a lot of people learn via modelling, actually seeing exactly what someone else is doing and then modelling that. That's not to say that you'll be modelling my exact training program. However, there's certain principles that maybe come across better via the vlog style videos than they perhaps do when I'm just teaching you in front of a camera or in front of a microphone. So if you go to YouTube, if you type in James Layton Fitness onto YouTube, you'll see these videos. I think I've got 3 videos now, and I think they'll be really beneficial. So if you want us to go over and check that out, I just thought I'd just let you know. Today's we're going to be discussing breaking through fat loss plateaus. Now I've actually discussed this in depth in one of my previous podcasts, but because it's such a critical topic, and I think it's a topic that people really haven't grasped yet, I think it's worth me revisiting this specific topic. Firstly, I think you need to actually realise that fat loss plateaus are perfectly normal. They are part of the process. Also, your body wants to constantly stay in homeostasis, and as a result, when you're in a fat loss phase, it's going to do everything it can to maintain homeostasis. Hence why a lot of these plateaus happen, i.e. things like leptin drops, your metabolic rate drops, and as a result we need to constantly make changes so you can continually make fat loss progress. And I'm going to discuss those changes within this specific podcast. Now the first thing you need to make sure you're absolutely doing is tracking your progress effectively. Otherwise, how do you know whether you've actually hit a fat loss plateau or not? You don't. You need to be constantly and consistently tracking your progress, and that requires you to weigh yourself frequently, at least once per week. It requires you to take photos. It requires you to take your body fat percentage if you have this available to you. It requires you to take measurements, girth measurements around your stomach if you're a female, hips, etc., legs. For males it will be legs, waist, arms, chest, shoulders, etc. You need to be trying to use as many measuring tools as possible so that you can objectively track and measure your progress effectively. Now once you have that information, it's then important to realise what are realistic expectations when you're trying to achieve your fat loss goals, and a very good place to start is to focus on achieving 0.5 to 1% weight loss per week. So for example, if you were a 200-pound male, a 1% loss would be 2 pounds, 0.5 would be 1. So you can see that it's not a huge amount, and the reason why it's not is the goal of any fat loss phase is to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. Hence why it's important to focus on slow, consistent progress rather than trying to drastically lose weight in a short period of time. So there are your goal figures. So if you don't achieve that, that's when you need to make a change to calories and or training, which I'll discuss shortly. Now, however, it's important to consider for females, obviously because of their menstrual cycle, they can hold water at certain times of the month, and as a result this can really mask progress on the scale. So for females, it's important when you're weighing yourself to weigh yourself frequently, but at the same time have in the back of your head that you may be weighing yourself when you're holding more water than other times of the month. So bear that in mind, keep that in mind, and in addition to that, that's why for females doing the body fat percentage, the measurements, the photos are really so critical, because sometimes the weight on the scale will not do you justice. Sometimes water retention can actually mask weight loss on the scale, so that's why it's critical that you're using all these other measuring tools. And I cannot stress this enough, because females have an obsession with the scale, yet for them in particular, because of water retention at certain times of the month, it's certainly a very useful tool, but that's why the other measuring tools are just as important, just to give more of an objective picture of what's actually going on. So if you do not achieve those above 0.5 to 1% weight loss targets per week, and or you're not seeing any measurement improvements for a female or a body fat percentage decline, if you reach a plateau, it's time to make a change. Just realize that this is the real key to fat loss. This is the key, realizing that you need to make changes when you plateau to calories or train. Once you understand that, you've got the tools to succeed, because most people are fixated on following one plan and then not realizing that it needs to change when they reach a plateau. This really is so important. So we're basically going to be making changes to either calories or training. We're mainly going to be manipulating cardio. The reason why is, within a fat loss phase, weight training should still be the foundation of your routine, and the main reason being this is going to help preserve lean mass retention, muscle mass, within the fat loss phase. And this is for females and males. Both these principles apply to you. So you're either going to increase cardio via, you could use high intensity interval training, moderate intensity steady state, or low intensity steady state, or you can decrease calories. You need to do one or the other. I would suggest one or the other, and then you're going to measure your progress, and then you'll make any more changes when you reach another plateau. So either drop calories and or add another cardio session. So with regards to dropping calories, anywhere between a 10 to 20% drop in calories is a good ballpark place to start. Again, there's certain nuances and caveats to this, but I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible. Protein is going to stay the same, and the drop in calories will come from carbohydrates or fats, or a combination of the two. Let your personal preference dictate whether it comes from fats or carbs, or a combination of the both. Just make sure that you keep fats around 20 to 30% of your total calories. Again, let your personal preference dictate the ratio, or whether it comes from carbs and fats. Just make sure you keep fats 20 to 30% of total calories. And again, protein is going to stay the same within the fat loss phase to help preserve lean muscle mass. Now, with regards to the specifics of the cardio, don't overcomplicate this. With regards to a HIIT session, you could do 10 minutes of intervals at the end of your weight training session. This is what I do with a lot of my clients. I'll get them to do, say, a 30-second sprint, then a 30-second at a slow pace. Obviously, you can't technically sprint for 30 seconds, but you're going as hard as you can for 30 seconds, then you're going at a slow pace or resting for 30 seconds, then you're repeating that cycle till the 10 minutes are up. The great thing about HIIT is you can burn a lot of calories in a short space of time, and that is the goal within the fat loss phase. Likewise, you could also do like a circuit. Anything where you're doing short bursts of intense activity, then resting, then repeating for a block of time, say 10 minutes or 15 minutes, would be absolutely ideal. Other option would be MIS or LIS. So MIS is moderate intensity steady states. This could be a run or a cycle outside. You could do 20 to 40 minutes moderate intensity. LIS, again, you could do 20-40 minutes on a, say, incline walk. Just realize the goal of these cardio sessions is merely to burn calories to create the energy deficit needed for fat loss. Now, it's important to note that you focus on doing your weight training first. So if you do these cardio sessions, either at the end of your weight training, or a completely another time of the day, or one of your non-training days. We need to preserve our gym performance, our weight training. So those who do cardio before their weights, you're going to lose so much strength and muscle mass. Make sure you prioritize the weight training first. In addition to that, be cautious with adding too much of one type of cardio, i.e. too much HIIT can be quite difficult for the body to recover from, and again, that can impede our weight training performance. Too much of MIS, moderate intensity steady state, can cause endurance adaptations which are counterproductive to our strength training. So just keep that in mind. Try and use a combination of all of those, and try not to focus on too much of one or the other. Those are really the key changes to make, either a decrease in calories or increase in expenditure. The goal is to create that energy deficit needed for fat loss. However, there's another couple of nuances you could potentially add in. One would be a refeed day. So the goal of the refeed day is to restore a hormone called leptin, which drops during dieting. So this is basically a higher carbohydrate day. So you really want to bring your carbohydrates to approximately maintenance calories for 1 day a week. And in certain circumstances, twice a week can be useful as well. It really depends on the individual, but you're just having that 1 day a week, and then you're going back to your fat loss calories and macronutrients. That can be another useful tool to potentially use. The other option is a diet break. This would only be for someone that's been dieting for a prolonged period of time, So, for example, a bodybuilder who's been prepping for a show, and during the contest prep, if he is in a good enough position, i.e. he's going to easily make the required conditioning, having 1 to 2 weeks where calories are brought to maintenance calories can help to restore some of the negative physiological adaptations which happen during dieting. However, for most individuals, this wouldn't really be necessary unless you're really in the lower ends of the body fat spectrum, i.e. single figure body fat percentages, or for females within the middle low teens. Finally, the goal is now just continually tracking your progress and then repeating the cycle, i.e. when you reach another fat loss plateau, then it's time to make another change to either calories or training. So hopefully this has been useful. Hopefully you've got some tools now to start applying. Just realize fat loss plateaus are normal, and that is your cue to make a change so you can continue to make progress. I'll look forward to speaking to you next week. Like I mentioned, if you're still yet to check out those vlogs on YouTube, type in James Layton Fitness into YouTube. Additionally, if you're still yet to download my free ebook on my website, How to Set Up a Nutrition Plan, if you go to James Layton, Layton fitness.co.uk, you can see a tab at the top of the page and you can download that immediately. Okay, thank you very much. I'll speak to you next week. Take care.